Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Mind, Body, and Soul Lifestyle Tips with Alex and Friends show. Today is Saturday, March 6th, and what a great day. It's beautiful here in Colorado. I think it's like 60 something, maybe higher degrees, which is awesome for March. And I couldn't imagine a better person to spend this time with. So Emily, thank you so much for jumping on with me today and joining our audience. And we are talking today about finding your soul's home. So I'm going to do a little introduction for you, Emily, because you deserve it. An introduction is always fun. And then I want to pass it over to you so you can tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you're doing in the world. How does that sound?
Sounds perfect.
Great. Okay. So Emily and we met through Southside Coffee Chat, which for those of you that don't know, that's a senior care services networking event. And I saw her and we connected and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to know this woman because you're doing so much for the community. You are a certified meditation and breath coach. You are a holistic life coach, and you are a realtor who helps people manifest their home, not just a house. And that is unlike anything I've ever heard before. You're also married and you have a little girl named Molly, who I believe is like 1 or 2?
Yes.
Yes.
She's 18 months.
18 months. Okay, great. Okay. And you're doing amazing things. I'm so impressed and so honored that you chose to spend this morning with us. And I would love to just let you take it away and tell us more.
Yeah.
Who are you? What do you do? And what are we going to talk about today?
For sure. Thank you so much, Alex. I am so honored to be here and to share my time with you. I appreciate your energy and giving the space for us to collaborate. I am Emily, as Alex said. It was a lovely intro. I am a meditation teacher and breath coach with the Yoga Alliance. So what that means is, if we didn't know, we breathe every day. And it's consciously knowing that we do that. There's so many times, as a coach, I still have to think about all those modalities that I'm trained in that I have access to all the time, but it's consciously being present with myself. So that is, in that vein, meditation is my method of meditation is guided visualization. And then I also help my clients with different types of breathing techniques that work for them. So, for example, having breathing techniques for productivity, for confidence. If you're an athlete, there's different ways for us to breathe for our performance. And then I'm also a holistic life coach. So what that means is life coaching is an industry that's becoming more popular. And the life coaching training that I went through is with the First Holistic Academy. And it's really diving deeper into the 4 systems that make us up. And that's mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. So for my clients, I dive into their whole picture, looking at them from the inside out and the outside in, and knowing that all of these facets need to be aligned for us to live our ultimate, best, highest lives. And with that, I dive in deeper to finding out what home means to us, because I truly, truly believe that if we are not connecting within, we cannot connect without hesitation, without limitations or disbeliefs that no longer serve us. So it's using these many modalities of mindfulness with meditation, the breath work, emotional clearing methods to really dive into what our soul's home looks like. It's really important for us to be at home with our soul body and within ourselves, for us to be able to bring our highest, most pure energy within our household. And one of the reasons that this really resonated with me, and I've been working with all women basically, and with anyone that identifies as a woman, so very inclusive, and really pinpointing on motherhood because I'm a recent mom. And to be honest and transparent, I suffered from postpartum depression and anxiety. And if it wasn't for my mindful practice, I wouldn't be able to be as present as I am for my daughter and my husband, because I took the time to really nurture this home. And now I'm able to transcend that into being a present mother who is also bringing this energy to my loved ones. So it's really hard sometimes as a mom to give ourselves the space to be here because there's so much on our to-do list. But if we don't mindfully connect with those 4 systems and allow ourselves to be aligned, we're not giving our loved ones the benefits. And with that being said, the real estate part is looking at a real estate not just as buying or selling real estate, but the real estate that we already own. So what does that look like? How do we either manifest and use these mindful decision-making tools to find a new physical place for you, or to energetically and authentically use the canvas that we already have? So that is what my business, Mindfully Home, really embodies, finding home within our soul body and then transcending that into our physical space.
Wow, you touched on so many amazing things there, and I'm like, okay, like a rabbit. Okay, which direction do we want to go? And okay, so if you're okay with it, let's jump into some meat and potatoes. What people can do today to start taking care of their everything that you talked about, their mental, emotional, and physical. And what was the fourth one or the third one?
So our systems are mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual.
Physical and I love that spiritual. I love it all. I mean, the spiritual is super, super fun. It's just they're all never ending. Physical for me is like, yes, it's great, but it's so much hard work to work out, you know?
Yeah. And it's also looking at our systems. And I'm happy you said that, because of course, like, we obviously hear physical and we're thinking our physical body, but it's also in truth that if we have those other buckets full of our purest intentions, our physical, our finances, our to-do list, like those physical things are going to redeem those benefits as well. Yeah. So our bods are going to feel it too, but it's other physical components of our life as well.
Great. Thank you for expanding on that. Because when I hear physical, I just think, all right, Alex, you need to do the workout. You need to go do some running.
For sure.
Sit-ups, you got to eat right. All those things are important. So, all right. So I have a couple of ideas here. That's kind of how this show works. It's like, hey, let's jump in and let's see what value we can bring to people's lives. And before we jump in, I just want to remind everyone that's watching us live on Facebook and YouTube, feel free to leave a comment if you have questions for Emily and you want to ask her about meditation, about breath work, about, living a holistic life and what it means to find a home that fits you. Or maybe you've had an experience like that to where you have your home and you're like, I wish my home felt more at peace. I wish it felt more like me. Like when I walked around, I felt joy in the areas that I'm looking at and that I'm sitting in. And, because it can become very heavy to walk into a home that's busy and full of the wrong, not wrong things, but full of things that don't really serve your highest purpose. Right. And then I also would love for us to do, a guided meditation. And speaking of meditation, Emily and I are going to be doing an actual event. It's going to be, and usually, for Emily to do an event, it costs money. So we're actually, which thank you so much just for offering this to the Mind, Body, and Soul community. To do this for free. We're going to be doing a meditation and oil event on Saturday, March 27th at 11 o'clock. So we'll make sure to put the link to that event in the on Facebook and on YouTube. And then if you're listening to the recording on the podcast series, then we'll put it in there as well. Again, that's going to be in March. So today's March 6th, 2021 still. Yes, we're still in 2021. That's great. And so we'll make sure to have that in there and we'll put all of our contact information at the end, especially for Emily. So you guys can reach out to her and get that done. Not get that done, but find out more, because you also have a newsletter that you send out to people. You've highlighted me, which thank you so much. And you've highlighted other women that are in business and they're on purpose with what they're doing. So we'd love if you guys would take advantage of that, right? Like there's so many things out there that you need to, people say you got to pay for to get access to and do different things. And Emily has so many available, abundant resources for all of us in the Mind, Body, Soul community to take advantage of. And so you can connect with her and get more out of life, because she knows what she's doing. So, all right. So back to talking to you instead of talking to my audience, which we are talking to the audience.
Yeah.
But, so maybe we could do, I'm thinking like we could give them a taste of like a guided meditation, because I'm sure we'll be doing that on the 27th, and walking through whatever you think would be like someone that is listening and just getting started, right? They're like, okay, I want a mindful home. I want to find my soul's home. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Like, what is my purpose? Like, how can we do, anyways, I've talked a lot. You take it away. Let me know your thoughts.
Yeah, no problem. The first thing that I really do suggest when walking into breath work is, and one thing I love doing is tying breath work within my meditations, because it's really a beautiful ritual to deepen your meditation practice. So Ha breathing is, like something really bad happens and you just want to sigh it out and that feels so good. So we do that just as a reaction to something happening to us. But if we have that in our toolbox, like the other day, honestly, I was trying to put a light on that I'm pointing at right now, and somehow my hand ended up in my cactus. True story. And that's not fun. So I've been meditating and doing breath work personally for 10 years. So if I didn't have that, I would be like, beep, 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 beep. Like, how did this cacti in my hand? But I sat myself down, and luckily I already had a chair that was posted up right here, and I let out 3 Ha breaths. So
Okay.
And that felt so good. I was like, yeah, this little jerk of a cactus, and now I need to get my tweezers, but I feel good. And it really does. There's, of course, pain is a real thing, but and not just physical pain, emotional pain is a real thing. Our heart's pain is real. And if we're able to consciously tune into those tools, even if they're just snippets, like I meditate every day for at least, depending on where Molly's at and her agenda, 10 to 20 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes. But sometimes we don't have that, especially when we're starting. That could be really intimidating. But to have these moments that we can rely on just that Ha breathing calms us down and also promotes confidence, because we're taking control of the situation. So it could be physical pain, like a piece of a cactus in your hand, or it could be that something is happening that's really hard. There's something at work's really hard, or at home and our families or whatnot. And to be able to just organize that and know that we have that control of being present helps us have that confidence hormones building within us, that we have the empowerment and we have the access to being present. So that's what I love telling clients. That's the first thing. Like, it's so short and simple and sweet that we have that, but then diving deeper into different types of techniques, and other techniques are a little more complex than that, but it definitely, if you are sitting yourself down in a meditative state, and just little tips I guess I could share right now, making sure that also with knowing that you have control over your own breath and that is accessible to you, knowing that how you carry your body and how you align your spine is already, that body posture and language is already setting you up for balance. So it's believed that our spine has 2 energetic passageways, or like lines in them. So that it's also looking at it that it's when we're in balance with ourselves, our left and right hemispheres are also in balance. So making sure that when you are meditating, you are already setting up your soul to have that have that access even before you close your eyes, if that's what you want to do. So if you're sitting on a chair, that's already promoting that great posture. If you're sitting on the floor on a meditative pillow, to be up against a wall if you have that access to, or if you're lying down on your yoga mat, I suggest doing that without a pillow. So all of your chakras from your crown to your root are already aligned. And then that gives you the access to your body's knowing that we're about a step into alignment with ourselves. That's just a little taste, I guess.
Yeah, but you bring up a great point. So like you said, knowing you have control over your breath, right? Mm-hmm. And that you have control over the way your spine is for the most part, unless you have like scoliosis or you have another ailment in your body that's going on. And that can help align your chakras. So for those that are listening that don't know what chakras are, they've heard of it. They're like, oh yeah, those are those colorful things in those India shops that are on flags or something. Like they don't even know what chakras are. So what are chakras?
Yeah. So it's believed that not every part of our body, but from our crown, so the top of our head to our root, which is below our belly button, like where our sit bones are, basically in that area, that region, if you will, that we have different energy. I don't want to say passageways necessarily, but energy zones. And that so in meditation, I really love, there's the third eye between your eyebrows. There's this throat chakra, which I really love to talk about. And there's your heart chakra and your sacral, which is below your belly button, right above your root. So when you are in meditation, and even when you're not just sitting down, but you're in walking meditation, if you're in tune with those certain areas, that you're sending energetic light and openness to that. So when our throat, for example, also has a correlation with a lotus flower. So the throat chakra is associated with the lotus flower. And the visualization is that a lotus flower is opening up. And with that, we are giving ourselves the courage to be heard. So where our voices are projecting. And it's our energy is being aligned through these also emotional centers. If you're in tuned with that emotion and energy is living in those regions, you're able to ground yourself in the belief that you are able to connect with your body in such a spiritual level.
Oh yes, I agree.
All good.
Yes. Yes, I agree. And even just listening to you, you can tell that you said you've been practicing this for 10 years. Is that right?
Yeah.
So I also want to dive into your story. You talked about postpartum depression. Mm-hmm. You're talking about, you're a realtor who is focusing on helping people manifest their home. And mm-hmm. How did you get to where you are today? Because when I met you, I thought, oh, she just woke up like this. She went to college and she went, because I think you went to CU. Is that right?
I went to DU, close.
DU, right. DU. So you're just like this rock star. You're beautiful. You have like your business, your newsletter is Meraki.
Meraki, yes.
Meraki, like which is, for those of you listening, she has a newsletter and then it's called Meraki, right? So great. Like, how did you come up with all of this? Like, what has been your journey?
So I guess I was like a witchy little kid. I'm from New Jersey originally. I'm from a very Italian conservative family, and I always knew I was different. I was hanging out with the trees. I was hanging out in the dirt. I was doing all this stuff. And I was rooted in, I remember like going to, there was like a nature and science museum near our house in New Jersey, and there were rocks. I was like, oh, there's rocks. And then I found out like the symbolism behind crystals. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like Mother Nature is giving us so much that for us to be mindful of. Like it's rose quartz. We live in Golden, and rose quartz is everywhere. And it's so the nature connection of emotion is really what it's always been ingrained in me. It's, I don't really know where I come from because my whole family's not like this. But it was a part of me from a really young age. And this is giving you a long story, but also in high school, I was talking to someone yesterday, and this was a big part of my story. I went to an assembly that my high school was offering, whatnot, and it was about bullying. And it was a one-man show, and it was incredibly powerful. And this guy was talking about he had a personal story of a friend who, and this is kind of going off the tangent, but his friend committed suicide, and he left a note that said, if one person smiles at me today, I won't jump. And the reason I share this is because unfortunately he did jump, and it just sat with me that I knew emotion was so strong, and I knew the colors of it from a young age. And then I saw this, and that projection just went up. And I knew that we had to ground within ourselves, open up our vortexes really inside of ourselves to be emotional beings, the emotional beings that we are naturally meant to be. So connecting mindfully and on a spiritual level was always a part of me, and that just grew. And I then from there went to college, and I took Buddhism in college, and that grounded me even further within my spiritual beliefs. And then after college, I worked in nonprofit management, program management, and wellness. I worked with seniors. I also have worked with young girls from 3rd to 8th grade in a program called Girls on the Run that was partnered up with Colorado schools. And that mindfulness was helping girls find their voices. And I saw that there were coaches, our women needed that. I needed that space. We needed that energy to be authentic with ourselves, because sometimes, unfortunately, we think that we have to be the nurturers, that we like put our emotions aside. And that just kind of, again, like kept growing and growing and growing, being a part of these emotional communities from a young age. And now that story leads me up to my 30s. And then I had my daughter, and my postpartum depression happened, and my postpartum anxiety happened. And for someone that has had this toolbox growing for 30 plus years, and then you find yourself in such a dark place, I remember looking around myself. I was like, I really don't like where I live. I don't like it. Like, my backyard is literally North Table. How can I not like where I live? Like, and it made me go deeper within inside myself. And that's when I was meditating every day for 30 minutes a day. And I realized that the reason that I didn't like where I was is because here was hurting. And I just dove deeper into everything that I have learned. And then through that one story of being in high school and going to that assembly, I knew that other women need to know that they're not alone, and that we need to find our soul's home, because we deserve to nurture this. And it just grew into this business of Mindfully Home. And that the real estate side of it, I love helping people find their physical home. But I know that people need to connect with themselves before they could look at their home as a home and not just a transaction. So it's bringing this mindful modalities into everything I do. And that's, I guess, in a bigger nutshell, my story, that I've always known from a young age that I don't want people to feel alone. I don't want someone to feel like they can't share their story and that someone's not going to smile at them. Because no matter what your story is, you deserve to smile at someone, with someone, and also in here. And that's my biggest spark.
That's a huge spark. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Of course.
What an amazing thing. And so it sounds like you've always had this calling within you to help people feel welcomed and to help people feel at home in their own space, like in their physical space. For those of you that aren't watching on the video, like I'm pointing to myself.
Right here.
I always have to remember, okay, I have to, remember those two modalities that people are listening to this message. And you're absolutely right. People feeling welcomed and people feeling connected. And so last year, we know we went through, and we're still going through the global pandemic. And you're working in a way that people are, you're working in Colorado. So the market is crazy right now. So what did you learn last year, and what are you learning now through the clients that you're working with and what you're doing in the real estate space? What are you learning right now, and what can we learn from you?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to traditional real estate with buying and selling your home, I think that we no longer could look at it traditionally. I think that it's such a competitive market right now, and it's been a seller's market for a really long time because our inventory is low, and that puts us into fight or flight. And mindfulness within real estate totally does not negate these stressors that are really real, that we need to know what the difference is being pre-qualified to being pre-approval. And that is working with your bank and making sure that what you're being pre-qualified for is actually solidified. So it's making sure like those little things, knowing how the market, how much inventory, how fast that's going off the market, and how quickly you have to act. But in the same vein, being mindful of that, because if we're in fight or flight all the time, we're not able to make the decisions that are best for us. We like feel like we just have to put down an offer on any home to try to get a home, but is that home really going to serve you? So I think tying in mindfulness as your daily practice within such a competitive market is really beneficial. And again, it's in no way to not know what the steps are to buy a home, because we need to do that. We need to work with someone that we really trust and someone that is going to be there, that's communicative, that's responsive on a very quick level, because there's so much going on behind the scenes that the buyers, they know of, but they don't know necessarily the negotiation that's going on their behalf. So it's being quick with everything, but also giving yourself the space to digest what is being thrown at you. Because, I mean, I think it's easy that there's times where if we're buying a home, let's say with a partner, that we rely on them to digest stuff. But we need to educate ourselves to always empower ourselves and then sit back within a mindful space and be able to reflect on what we've learned so we can organize it to our benefit, to our potential.
Yeah. So what I hear you saying is that if someone wants to look at buying or selling their home, and they work with you, you're looking at being able to but coaching them on how to be mindful throughout the day and throughout the whole process, because there will be stressors and it will be hard. But one of the things that Glenn Doyle says, I've been hearing this a lot lately, and then I'm saying it a lot, that we can do hard things.
Yes. I love her. She's the best.
Yeah.
I love that book.
Yeah, I do a book club on Thursdays at 11. Right now we're reading How I Built This. And then next book club, I want to read, and anybody's welcome. So if you want to come too, I mean, probably. Okay. I'm like,
sure.
Because I'll be honest with you, I was just telling this to a couple people throughout the week. It seems to be like the theme. I do not finish books unless I'm in a book club. And I also do not read nonfiction, because I love psychology. I've been in this season for a decade now where I just love learning about developing people in our environment and like what, how does all this stuff work? Same with you, like the mindfulness and spirituality and mental, emotional well-being. Like, it's just my jam. So I won't finish a book unless I have people like, okay, by Thursday at 11, I have to have 3 chapters read. So Thursday morning, I'm usually reading 3 chapters. And taking notes and brainstorming with people, like, what did you get out of this? So anyways, I think the next book I want to do is with Glenn Doyle on Untamed. So she says we can do hard things. Yeah, you're like, yes.
Yeah. You are a cheetah, girlfriend. You are a cheetah. That's what she starts that book like, I am a wild cheetah. We all
Yes. Absolutely. Yes. And so we can do hard things, and it does help when you have other women around you, or men, if that's, if you have people around you, like you said at the beginning, like they, them, however we all identify, have people around you, and that can help you make these hard decisions and support you, through this process. I know for me, one of the reasons I've never bought a home. And this is the story I've told myself. I'm a single mom, right? And I have my own business. So income is crazy. It's up one month and then it's lower the next month, then it's high, and then it's like, whoa, we're making all this money. And the next one, like, where's all our money? It's very sporadic. So that's that cheetah for real.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, what, just to have a home, just to buy it. But then, and we made our home, we've rearranged, furniture and changed things where we live now because it's like, well, if we're going to be here, might as well enjoy it. Because there was a while I was telling somebody, I not somebody, anybody that would listen to me complain about it. Actually, I have a king size bed with a really big frame, or whatever it's called, and a bunch of wood stuff around it, and pretty wood. And so it was sitting in the middle of my bedroom, and there's not much room on the two sides. And I would always be like, gosh, I just need a bigger bedroom. And I'm like, yeah, it has nothing to do with the huge bed sitting in the middle of the room. I just need more room in the bedroom. So finally, like a couple months ago, my sister was like, she's going to school to be an addictions counselor. And she was like, Alex, either stop complaining about it and do something about it. Like, stop complaining or do something. So I was like, oh, great. Thank you. Thank you, younger sister. So I moved the bed over to the wall, and oh my gosh, I have all this space, and I do yoga in there. I put a little table in there to do my writing in, like my morning, centering, and I have my yoga, not my yoga, my meditation chair. And it's amazing because now I really do love my space. It's awesome. And so what can people do that are currently in their home, kind of like I was? What tips? You're the professional. I just went through complaining about it for 5 years, and my sister finally said, you just need to shut up. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So you probably have better tips than I do, but I wanted to use that as an example. What you're saying is so true. So elaborate on that idea for us, please.
Definitely. I think the best way for us, well, in a nutshell, just do it. I think that it comes down to, I remember, for example, my office is also my daughter's playroom, and the energy of having toys everywhere. And it's like through, it's very like, you feel when your area is crowded or chaos is around you, you start embodying that energy. And you start taking that on because you're surrounded by it. And there's so many times that's like, okay, well, I'll get to it. Or I want this room to be X, Y, and Z. And your intuition is so strong, but sometimes you just don't listen to it. So just stop ignoring it. That's like my biggest advice. And it's a little tough love, I guess. But I think, that happens to me too. It's very easy to see something and know we want it to look a certain way, to feel a certain way, but it's easier for us to just ignore it. But your soul and your being deserves you to recognize that, because any room, like I ended up painting my office, I hung up new art, and I made it mine, and the energy within it feels so different. So if you recognize and give yourself the space to know the energy that you want in a certain room, that you want more space to do yoga, to have your writing station, whatnot, look at the room exactly the way you want it. Because a lot of us are like, oh, we saw this really cute room or project in a magazine. Can I do it? Yes, of course you can. So it's getting into that intuition space that I do think meditation living in a wellness lifestyle, it's said that wellness is really the communication and the conversation, and meditation is actually listening to that. So sitting down in the room, being within the room, and letting your intuition come through of what you want that envision, manifest what you want that room to look like, and not just look like, but feel like, and then you build up from there. Writing after meditation is such a great thing. And through my guided meditations, a lot of times we listen to a Headspace or a different app, which are beautiful resources. And there's heart opening meditations, but guided meditations, we could guide ourselves through meditation or have a practitioner guide you through any type of meditation that works best for you. So if you are looking at your real estate that you already own and how you want that to feel and the energy you want within that space, have a meditation set up for that. Sit down and be like, I want this room blank. Leave that open-ended question for your intuition to come in. And I promise it will. And I think with mindfulness in real estate, there's, of course, when you meet with different clients as a realtor, you have coffee conversations or you go out to lunch or whatnot. I actually take my clients on intention hikes. So we're outside and we're talking and we're just having an organic, authentic conversation of where do they want to be in X amount of years. Sometimes you buy a home and you only know you're going to be there for 5, 8 years or even shorter or maybe longer, but what does that look like? How do you want that space to help your story? How do you want your story to unfold and be written within these spaces? So giving yourself the room to dive into these modalities, knowing things are competitive and real and whatnot, but giving yourself the space to listen and to hear your intuition.
Such an amazing answer. Way better than mine. Stop complaining and move over the bed. Move the bed. It's why you are here to talk about these things.
It's easy to do that. And it's so like within that, like you're living in your home and you're trying to figure out how you want that space to feel. Going back to our soul's home, I actually am designing a program for women, for moms, that is called the Lioness. And we are going to be working through these modalities of mindfulness to then bring into whatever energetic responses are coming through. How can we make that? How are we going to bring that into our home, our physical home? Let's build this up. It'll be a group program for 4 weeks, and it will talk about these just intuitive tools. And let's open up your toolbox and see what's in there, and then dive deeper and as a group just authentically connect and brainstorm of how we could support getting that bed pushed over. But metaphorically speaking, what does that look like?
That's great. So you're going to be working, you're really focusing on motherhood, and why is that?
Yeah, I think because I'm a mom, that's the easiest answer. But really, when it dives down to it, I think mothers, we take on so much of making our perfect household for our loved ones that it's easy to not come home within ourselves. So it's that's how I had to honestly get out of my postpartum depression and anxiety, is being almost at times uncomfortably at home with myself. So building up the foundation, using a home as a metaphor, but building up the foundation, building up the walls, putting the roof on. But what does that look like as a mom, taking a step back from the to-do list, taking a step back and having the courage of, making dinner a little later or not making the bed in the morning? That's okay. Like everyone's fine sleeping on unmade bed. It's like little things like that. So it's being at home with ourselves and within our transition of motherhood. I mean, when we have children, a mother really is being born as well. And it's giving us the space that, looking at a home metaphorically, we want our homes to be filled with love. We want our homes to be filled with nourishment. Let's give love and nourish to ourselves and be home here. And as you said earlier, people are just listening in. So I'm pointing at my heart space and being at home within our heart and giving ourselves that comforting warmth. And how is that going to transition into the transformation of being a mom at early stages, middle stages, and older, that our home is changing within us because the people around us are changing. And let's reflect inward and celebrate our changes within motherhood as well.
Yes, I agree. I agree with everything that you're saying. And in respect of time, I'd like to ask you or share an experience I had the other day in my own home, right? So, and then we'll wrap everything up with a bow on top, but just in respect to what you're saying and going into that heart space. And as somebody makes these big changes, right, by doing these subtle shifts, like, hey, maybe the bed's not made today. That's okay. If the floor isn't spick and span, that's okay. Like, and how to deal with that. And I want to share and give permission to our audience that as you're transforming into a more mindful person, and that unmindful person comes back in that space, it's okay. It's okay as you're making that transformation, right? Yes. Yeah. So for example, when I was in my kitchen, which is I'm pointing behind me. That's where my kitchen is. Right. I was right there. That's where it all happened. There's the scene, I was going to say the murder scene, but it wasn't a murder scene. But I remember I was making dinner And this week has been a crazy busy week. We were talking about that before we hopped on here to do the recording. And things are happening for everybody in my life that I know. People are getting promotions. People are making more money. People are making bigger impact. I mean, things are happening really good for people right now. We're coming out of a crazy year. And anyways, why was I saying? I don't know why I said that. Maybe that's just what somebody needed to hear. We're all rising up together. So, but as I was in there, I was busy. And so I was just making dinner and I was so exhausted. But my son, I want to give him the best of me at the end of my workday, not just the rest of me, right? So we're talking about motherhood. And as I was making dinner, all of a sudden I felt this immense like stress come over me and I'm tired and my brain's not working. And I was like, I am malfunctioning. I don't know what to do. I'm becoming a robot. And instead of shunning myself and being like, why are you going into this space? You're better than this. You know better. You don't need to feel negative. And then I was like, wait a minute. I know this feeling. And I said, hey, negative feeling. How's it going? Haven't seen you here in a little while. You can hang out for a little bit. Like, instead of fighting it, I was like, hey, we can do hard things. We can do this. Yes. And I felt, I welcomed the exhausted side of me in with empathy and with compassion, and was like, hey, you can be here too. I'm almost about to cry. Like, it's so profound. Like, it's okay to not be okay. Like, you don't have to push those feelings aside. Right. Like, and I felt better Like, I was like, oh, okay, we're going to be tired tonight. That's okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Alex, for sharing that. It's so true. In working with moms and finding a home within our soul, we need to feel that pain. We need that dirt. Like, we need that soil down and that like grime, because we blossom from that. And if we don't lean into it, we're ignoring it. And then in essence, we're pushing it away and letting it fester within us. And we hold on to that. We actually hold on our negative, like almost like black holes within us. We hold that negative energy. And it's time to give it light. It's time to know that sometimes being a mom or being a caregiver of any sort could be beeping hard. It's really hard. And if we don't allow to build, to have those blueprints, to have those tools, we're just going to ignore a bigger problem and our foundation's going to crack. And I am so proud of you for feeling that. Leaning into it and taking the time to share. That takes a lot of courage, because we feel like as moms, we got to have it all down. We don't. And that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
it really is.
Well, thank you for this conversation, because if we weren't having it, I probably wouldn't have even remembered. I didn't remember till just now. Like, oh yeah, I had a little bit of a breakdown last night and I welcomed it. And it wasn't even a breakdown, actually. It was just feelings of exhaustion and beat down and like worn down. I was worn down and I was okay with it. Like, hey, we're cool. I know how to be worn down. I spent most of my life being worn down, so I got this. Yeah.
You do. You're a cheetah.
Yeah, I'm a cheetah. Sometimes a tired one. So
we all need nourishment.
So, okay. So, couple of things to mention here. One, how can people contact you? And then two, what are your final thoughts on today's episode?
Yeah. So, my email is mindfullyhomewithemilyfenger at Gmail. And my website is emilyfenger.com. And on Instagram is the best social media platform for me. And that is mindfullyhome_. My other thoughts are just in May, I will be launching this moms group, the Lioness, that I would love to talk to anyone who is listening who might be interested to dive deeper within that, what that looks like. Again, it's a 4-week program with then 4 weeks of, it's 4 group sessions, but also 2 individual sessions. It's a beginning of knowing just who you are. How can I authentically support you and come alongside you with finding your soul's home, and then takeaways of how we could work together further. And then if there's any actual traditional real estate needs, I am definitely here to support you through a little different alternative approach. And I would love to go on an intention hike. So however I could support you and support the audience mindfully, I am trained in various modalities. So at my heart, I just want everyone to find a home within themselves, because that's the most beautiful place that we have.
Big time. Couldn't have said it better myself, so I'm glad you said it. All right. Well, thank you again. I'm excited for further collaboration between you and I and all the other people you have in your life. Like, you're a force to be reckoned with, like, and in a good way. Like, you are here. We need you. The community needs you. The world needs you. And it's just wonderful. So thank you so much. And I hope you come back again to talk to us.
Yes.
Again. So
and we have that event on the 27th. I think you said it was
27th. Yeah. 11 o'clock. So it's like what, 3 weeks from today, 4 weeks from today, probably three. So something like that. Yes. Okay. All right. Thank you.